come back. They travel north until they arrive at a red-gated mansion, the home of Prince Chun. He is not expecting visitors, but the imperial procession is not here for him. They're looking for his 2-year-old son. The little boy is afraid of the strangers and hides in a cupboard. The servants try to pull him out and carry him away, but the boy resists. He screams, he sobs, he scratches and wails. When they finally manage to calm him down, they take him back to the Forbidden City. This little 2-year-old boy was just chosen to rule China. His name is Puyi. Puyi is going to be the next emperor of the Qing dynasty, and the Chinese people will regard him as a living god. This video is largely based on the excellent book, The Last Emperor by Edward Beer. Find the link in the description. It's Puyi's coronation ceremony, and the boy can't take it anymore. For what seems like an eternity, they paraded before him. Strange men speaking strange words, ministers, palace guard officers, other officials. They approach and perform a ritual bow, kneeling 3 times and touching their heads against the ground 9 times. A kowtow. Each man pledges his allegiance, words that mean nothing to the young boy. To the 2-year-old, it's incomprehensible and frightening. The one person who could soothe him, who would calm him down and make him feel safe, isn't there. His wet nurse. Puyi is not allowed to see his mother, and Nurse Wang is her replacement. She plays with him, breastfeeds him, sleeps next to him. She's his main comfort and favorite companion. But she has been excluded from the ceremony. Puyi begins to fidget. Also, he's cold. The hall
Well guys, real shocker today. Once again, we have a development where somehow, someway, one of the Paul brothers has managed to make themselves look like even more of a tool than they presented as to begin with. It's honestly just kind of getting impressive at this point that they're able to do this so frequently. It's almost as impressive as the announcement I have for you guys at the end of the video, so you know, stick around. Now, Logan Paul being recognized as a pretty bad guy is really nothing new, and you would think with him knowing that, because he definitely knows that, he would maybe, just maybe, try and make somewhat of an active effort to try and clean up his image. However, most of the time it seems like he's only interested in doing the direct opposite. Because it feels like every 5 or 6 months maybe, Logan Paul gets himself tangled up in something that somehow makes him look even worse than he did before. Which, you know, for a few years has seemed impossible. Yet somehow it's not, because recently, parts of his lawsuit against CoffeeZilla have begun to hit the internet, and, well, they don't make Mr. Paul look too good. Now, real quick, if you don't know a whole lot about this lawsuit, I'll try and give you a quick rundown. It's not super important to what we're talking about today, because we're not going to be going through the nitty-gritty details of the lawsuit, but context will help. Basically, the foundation of why this all started is that a few years back, Logan Paul launched an NFT project called CryptoZoo, which basically aimed to be this game where you could buy an NFT egg and hatch it into an animal. You know, some real shitty mobile game type of stuff. Millions of dollars were raised through crypto and NFTs, yet the game never materialized and all of the promises made were never delivered, which inevitably led to a lot of the people who, quote, invested into CryptoZoo losing a lot of money. And it resulted in a lot of criticism and a lot of backlash for Logan. One of the biggest and most notable pieces of criticism coming from the YouTuber CoffeeZilla, who did a 3-part expose basically, running through all of the details as to why he believed CryptoZoo to be a scam that Logan Paul knew about. Now, from my understanding, Logan Paul originally threatened legal action over this 3-part series, but I don't think that went anywhere, and Logan Paul actually ended up apologizing. I don't think he ever said that he knew CryptoZoo was a scam, but more so claimed that he was kind of sabotaged by people in the crypto space that misled him. This is what I believe led to him announcing that there's going to be like a payback program almost, where some of the investors would be receiving some of their money back. And from my understanding, this is what ultimately led to the lawsuit. CoffeeZilla basically claimed that these people weren't getting their money back, and that these plans weren't really plans, and that there was no real intention to get the people who were affected by CryptoZoo any of their money back. This sort of reopened all the accusations of scamming, and seems to be what ultimately led to this lawsuit being filed. This lawsuit is not for the original expose that CoffeeZilla did, probably because of the statute of limitations on defamation, but more so about the recent videos and claims involving the whole payback situation. I believe in March, a judge ruled that the defamation claims were substantial and that the lawsuit could move forward, and that's where we are today. Obviously, that's not everything, but like I said, we're not really going to be getting into the nitty-gritty details of the lawsuit. I feel like that's all the context you really need to appreciate what we're going to be talking about today, which are a few text messages that Logan Paul sent, which CoffeeZilla included in his motion to transfer and stay, which basically means that CoffeeZilla is asking to move the case to a different court and to essentially pause the lawsuit until they either do move the case or, don't. However, like I said, that's not really what we're going to be focusing on today. We're focusing on these texts that Logan Paul sent that CoffeeZilla included in these proceedings. And, oh boy, are they something. These texts make Logan Paul look like the world's dorkiest supervillain, but nonetheless still a supervillain. CoffeeZilla was able to obtain some texts between Logan Paul and friends when they were discussing Logan Paul suing CoffeeZilla. And the way he talks about this is just, well, honestly, very on brand. I was gonna say lame or cringy or narcissistic, but really, now that I'm thinking about it, this is just sort of how I would expect Logan Paul to talk to his friends, especially about something like this. This all starts off by Logan saying lawyering up, suing this motherfucker into the ground. Then a friend replies, then everything will come out, court docs are public. Logan responds, so everyone will see what happened, for better or for worse. Which, who knows really what that could mean. One of his friends replies, to let others know it's not worth coming at you. There's a price to pay. Logan Paul responds, that's the idea. I see the momentum building because the throne is being shook right now, which is a pretty insane thing to say. Can't say for certain what he meant by this, but this really seems like he's implying that if you come at him, he's going to silence you through a lawsuit because he doesn't want his quote throne to be jeopardized. He follows this up by saying need to shut it down. One of his friends says public humiliation is always more effective, and Logan Paul says that he totally agrees. Now, we don't get the full text here. I don't know if this is like directly following up him saying totally agree, but the next thing included is Logan saying just to make his life difficult, and these proceedings here imply that this was meant that he's suing CoffeeZilla just to make his life difficult, not because the lawsuit is actually valid. Now, here's where shit starts to get a little bit wacky. Logan Paul then says, Zilla will pay one way or another. I will make sure of it. He follows this up with a little bit of that super villain flair I was referring to. He says, I want people who wronged me to suffer while I continue getting wins on their grave. What kind of anime antagonist I'm a badass in my head kind of bullshit is that? Anyways, as you can see, there are still ways for Logan Paul to make himself look even worse. After he did all that bullshit coming out after CoffeeZilla made his videos issuing the apology, I think at one point he even thanked CoffeeZilla for making the videos. To put on that shitty facade after he was called out, all the while behind closed doors he's talking about dancing on graves, suing people just to make their lives difficult. Come on, man. I would say you're better than this, but evidence suggests otherwise. Now, there's no doubt about it. Obviously, these text messages make Logan Paul look really bad, but I'm curious to see how they actually end up being utilized in this case because, like as shitty as it sounds, you can sue someone just to make their life difficult and still have a legitimate lawsuit, you know, like those two things are not mutually exclusive. Usually you are suing somebody just to make their life difficult, you know what I mean? Like anybody you sue, you are willingly suing. You're not forced into a lawsuit, you do it if you want to. Obviously the sentiment is not great, but nobody's suing somebody to make their life easier, you know what I mean? So while it makes them look really bad, like morally, I don't know how much it's really gonna.
You guys did the R-Far. And you then did the knock loose motherfucker. Knock loose motherfucker! And I think at this point, the knock loose motherfucker is a bigger call-out than the legendary R-Far, which that's hard to beat, considering you guys had to beat yourselves.
Definitely. I think that something that's crazy is like, I didn't expect these like big vocal moments have always kind of been on act.
Gonna affect the lawsuits if what he's claiming to be defamation actually turns out to be defamation, which, you know, I don't really know how good of an idea it is to sit here and talk about what we think is gonna happen in a YouTube defamation suit, given what has happened with one of those recently. But honestly, I feel like Logan Paul had the reputation of a crypto scammer before CryptoZoo even came out. There was that whole like dink doink shit and then the SafeMoon stuff. I don't think that anything CoffeeZilla said, even if it was defamatory, damaged Logan Paul's reputation any more than it already was. I feel like the internet has kind of given him a reputation of a bad guy and a crypto scammer far before CoffeeZilla said anything, which it's been a while since I was taking law classes, but if I remember correctly, I'm pretty sure in the US that if a situation like that occurs, where if you defame somebody, but your defamatory statements don't cause any more damage to the person's reputation, it still might be found that you did in fact defame them, but the damages found might be little to none. And personally, I feel like it would take the best lawyers on the fucking planet to make an argument that Logan Paul has ever had a good reputation, period, but especially a reputation that was not one of a bad person / a crypto scammer. I feel like that's been his reputation for at least 5 years. Maybe I'm sort of conflating all of that due to the CryptoZoo stuff, but I don't think I am. I think all that stuff is exactly why there were so many eyes on the whole CryptoZoo shit when it came out, because people were like, oh, okay, this again. Anyways, personally, I do not really see this lawsuit going in favor of Logan, and that's both on the internet and in the courts. Like we've been discussing, he has somehow found yet another way to make himself look like even more of a narcissistic douchebag, which has felt impossible for years, and every time something like this happens, I'm like, surely it can't get worse than this one, right? And then 6 months later, I'm making another video. So, you know, socially, I don't think that this lawsuit is going to do him any favors. And then like I was saying, I really don't see an avenue where he wins this. First of all, just from what I've read, it doesn't really seem like CoffeeZilla has defamed him, and even if he did, I don't really think that there's any argument to be made that any reputational damage has been done. Overall, I really think the only thing that's going to come out of this lawsuit is everybody on the internet thinking that Logan Paul is an even bigger loser than everybody already thought he was. I mean, seriously, man, come on. I want people who wronged me to suffer while I continue getting wins on their grave. You've got to be like a war general from the 1200s for that to not sound corny. You're not that guy, Logan. You're not that guy. Well, guys, what do you think? What do you think about all this? How do you read these texts? Because I've seen a lot of people on the internet sort of talking about how they were kind of shocked by them, like they were almost taken aback, and I feel like these words coming out of Logan Paul's mouth makes a lot of sense, you know? Not sure how this lawsuit's gonna go. Unfortunately for the greater YouTube community, I did not actually end up becoming a lawyer, so, you know, not gonna give any input there, but I do not think it's gonna be a very good one for Logan Paul. That's all I'll say. What I will say, however, is that I've got something cooking up for you guys. I've been working with a brand called Epic Desk, which makes custom mouse and desk pads, and we've cooked something up. It's gonna be releasing in a couple of weeks on May 15th. I'm gonna keep exactly what it looks like in the dark for just a few more days, you know, hype it up just a touch. I'm pretty excited about it. Hope you guys can be too. I've tried to stay away from like the YouTuber merch black hole because I know you don't just like want a picture of my face on your desk. Maybe some of you do. You know who you are. But yeah, I think it's pretty fun. I think a lot of you guys will like it, and you'll be able to get one here in a couple of weeks. If you want to follow that a little bit more closely, go follow my Instagram. I'll be announcing it as soon as they go live. I'll be doing the same on the channel, don't worry, but it won't be like the minute that they go live. So if you want to be the first one to grab one, go give me a follow. But I think that's really all I've got for you guys today. So yeah.
What happens after a creator has spent their entire career provoking, harassing, and belittling everyone around them? Do they, 1, eventually learn the error of their ways and become a better person, or 2, lose everything they worked for and crash out in the most dramatic way possible? Unfortunately for Jack Doherty, it was the latter, as his never-ending thirst for notoriety has caused all of the people around him and his main sources of income to completely abandon him.
Guys, look. Me and McKinley just broke up. The cops are outside of my house right now. She just called the cops on me, packed all her shit, took her car, everything. Insane.
Hi, I'm the Internet Anarchist. I create weekly YouTube documentaries, and today we'll be taking another look into the never-ending downfall of the internet's biggest clown, Jack Doherty, and how he has seemingly ended his career in the worst way possible. For those of you fortunate enough to not know who Jack Doherty is, he's the personification of everything wrong with IRL streaming and influencer culture, from building his career on being a public nuisance to glamorizing degeneracy by promoting OF models. Jack only cares about enriching himself, even if it's at the expense of others around him. These reckless pursuits often endangered not just himself, but everyone around him. One of the most recent examples was when he lost control of his McLaren while responding to stream chats on his phone. You'd think Jack would at least tone down his wild antics after such a traumatic event, but the publicity around the incident only encouraged him to take on more risky behaviors. Unfortunately for Jack, none of the controversies surrounding his career ever translate into meaningful engagement, as he's been caught view-botting on more than one occasion.
The views, look at robot views. Okay, let's see stable Ronaldo. Okay, let's see. Oh, whoa, whoa.
As you'd imagine, Jack tried to hide the truth by calling his critics broke.
I see on Twitter everyone is saying I've been view-botting. I just got married today. I'm sorry that people add views to my stream and there's nothing I can do about it. Big whoop. And then everyone's saying I don't have a lot of chatters in my Twitch thing. It's because I have a deal with Party.com. So I tell everyone to chat in the Party.com chat because that's the only chat I read. So everyone knows not to look at the Twitch chat and go to the Party chat. But I got married today. Fudge all the haters. You guys are broke at the end of the day, so you guys really can't be talking.
From Jack's perspective, it didn't matter what he was doing as long as it made him money. And he was even willing to scam his fans to make a quick buck. By the 22nd of November 2024, Jack started a Twitter livestream captioned "Buying Meme Coins Live," in which he desperately tried to hide the fact that he was about to promote his own meme coin.